I'd like to call to order this budget workshop of the City of Bandera Economic Development Corporation held at Bandera City Hall, 511 Main Street, Bandera, Texas, Thursday, August 11th, 2022. The time is 6 p.m. If everybody would please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, all members are present except for Lauren and Lindsay. And agenda item number 2 is our workshop. I know you had some stuff you wanted to bring up really quick.
Really quickly, I don't envy you the task of doing a budget workshop. I'm in the middle of trying to work on my budget. But remember a date coming up that's right after October 1st, the new fiscal year in 2023. October 14th, 2023 is the lunar eclipse. And my gut tells me that the city, as well as the county, I do not truthfully feel that supplies may be necessary other than the glasses. And we have solar glasses now in the office at 30 cents a pair. You're not gonna find them cheaper, period, end of sentence. But the things such as the porta potties, many years ago, the EDC, and I think Laura was working, we looked at getting for the city park the rollaway porta potties that you could hook into and get water sources and then just drain them. You find them on construction sites, and if you go to big concerts, you find them there.
The trailer style.
Trailer style. I can tell you for April 2024 eclipse, per buddies, they have no porta potties available, period. And I would assume that that's gonna be a major challenge for the city, particularly April 2024. So those are two things that are once in a lifetime purchases, but the glasses are a once in a lifetime, but there may be some things that either looking at them could be beneficial year round, because I think when we have water in the park, the bathroom situation down there is minimal too, and it just didn't pass. I think the last time the EDC priced putting in permanent toilets down there, the cost was close to 200,000. It was well over 100,000.
I think you're
brick and mortar.
absolutely right.
And we were blown
Wow.
away, and they were professional beds.
Wow.
Professional beds. The other ones were, I think, when I was looking at them closely, you could buy one of the portable ones for well under 50,000, and you donate it. And I see that as a benefit, because when we do have the floods, where does everybody evacuate? To the courthouse area or up to higher? When we don't have the infrastructure for it. The concern was, who will take them out of the parks? Well, it's just a hookup to a trailer. How many pickups do we have?
Be strategically parked around town during major events.
Correct.
They could be rented out to.
Mansfield Park.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the two things to look at, knowing full well that we are going to have the occurrence. My understanding is the the October event for some cities would be like a dry run, because they're not used to hosting 3,000 people on a weekend. That's a low number for this town, but we are. But April 2024, we have no idea what to expect, truthfully. So that's all I needed to say.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Now go
Patricia.
back over to the front of your types.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you. Have fun with it, guys and gals.
It's such a nice subject to talk
What?
about.
Yeah. Porta potties.
Well, it's something we all use, indeed. Are we, you don't wanna pick up the aftermath on the sidewalk.
Somebody has to do it.
That's true.
I'll let you volunteer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on with the budget, so we've got this broke down. If you look on the left column of numbers, that's what is proposed based on the percentages that we looked at. Miscellaneous projects is the 26,000, or I'm sorry, is 26%, and then if you go down to the 50K projects, that's 22%. Those together were split from the 47% projects that we looked at. They're just broke down a little finer as far as where they go on line items. The numbers on the far right after the percentage is what we would have left versus the left side is what we're obligated to already. So an example of that is on the 47K miscellaneous projects, we're already committed to 83,000, and 26% of our projected budget would be 84,500. So we have $1,500 left from that percentage. Does that make sense to everybody?
Thank you.
Yeah. And we've talked about a lot of projects, and that isn't gonna cover much.
No. So, but if you go down to Parks and Rec, we still have another 7,500 left. If you go to the 50K projects, private enterprise grants or loans, we've got 71.5 that we haven't put anywhere yet. So we have money in there to do stuff.
I'd like to see us, I know we've talked about it, for lack of a better term, the property down here in Hackberry, I'd like to see us do something, clean it up a little bit and put some benches in there and leave what money we've got overage. I think we could do that maybe with that.
Under the Parks and Rec?
Yeah, I'd like to leave that.
Okay.
And then,
Well, that would be something brought up at a meeting outside of the budget workshop, but yeah, I think that's,
yeah, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
leave it.
You talking about in current year? Take something out of current
No,
year?
no,
In the budget for next
so
year?
she said, like, under
Yeah.
Parks and Rec, we've got that extra 7,500 that
Right,
we haven't already allocated specifically. So that would be, she's saying that's something she'd like to see us possibly doing with a portion of that 7,500.
we allocate it for that, property down on Hackberry to.
So,
Cause
and
there's more and more and more people driving down there.
forgive me, I do not have all my notes from like the workshop we did with the city. My mother-in-law is in town and decided to borrow my truck.
I thought you could associate your notes.
I had to get rides, I had to get a ride over here from work, and she is currently in San Antonio at the zoo with my daughter. So I do not have all of my notes from what the city requested, but I do know that Keely went ahead and put a bunch of that stuff on here. The only thing that is not put on here that the city requested is the money going to the the city administrator as a possibility of being an EDC, the executive director for the EDC.
For the 20%.
It was
Yeah.
30?
Well,
It
so
was
the
30?
mayor came back and talked to Laura
Oh, okay,
and said 20 is what they're looking for.
okay.
So, if we did that, that would have to go under, administrative expenses, which means that we would have to bump that number from 3% up to about 10, rough math off the top of my head, about 10% to administrative percentages, so we'd have to take that out of somewhere. Move that around.
City council hasn't voted or made a decision on that yet. It's on their agenda supposedly for the next meeting, I think it's the
Okay.
16th, so.
Okay.
It may be a moot point. We
It
don't
may,
know.
it may be, but that's something that could change if the EDC decides to go ahead and do that.
We would have to discuss in our meeting too.
Yep, we'd have to discuss it at our meeting but that's one of those possible things is where do we take that 10% from to move to administrative expenses? I'm sorry, we would be bumping if we did that, we would be bumping administrative up to a total of 10%. So an additional 6 or 7% over what we've already got.
So the park and recreation might be affected. Correct?
Parks and Rec could be affected.
Yeah.
This is something.
Anything we're positive with right now.
This is something that would be a yearly ongoing thing. To me, a yearly ongoing thing for administrative expenses is something that needs to be a balanced budget for, not, like I know the comment was made during the workshop with city council that the amount of money that we've got in reserves. I think the money that we've got in reserves is better utilized for something like what Patricia brought up of a one-time purchase or a one-time project that we decide makes a huge amount of sense. I do not like the idea.
It's not an ongoing expense.
I do not like the idea of going out of a balanced budget for something that's going to be an ongoing yearly expense. I think we need
That's
to
gonna
keep
go
it
forward
balanced
and
for
be
that.
budgeted
Oh,
for
yeah.
not just our board, but the next board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that would be my guidance on that. Obviously, we've got to come to an agreement on that as a board. But I'm very harsh on, or I push as hard as I can to keep it balanced, a balanced budget on recurring
I
stuff.
totally agree.
We just need to decide where to allocate it from, and then adjust it accordingly.
Exactly. So, I mean, and we could allocate, as far as projects, that 50K line item that we haven't allocated, we don't have anything allocated from, and that's 22%.
True.
We could take 6 or 7% off of that, move it over to administrative. And then we still have, and we'd still have 51,000.
Yeah, there's a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah. So, the other thing is the 45K promotional marketing expense. Under there, it's got gunfighters. And so gunfighters, if we move them under Parks and Rec, or I'm sorry, under promotional marketing expense, and we take on the full costs of them at $15,000 a year, then that cuts what we have left for promotional marketing expense to $17,500 for every other event that's going on in the city. And come October, last year we told everybody, have your requests in for the entire fiscal year in October, which is why there was no money left over that wasn't already projected for the Longhorns on Main. Because we had done all that last October where the Riding on Faith Rodeo came in, said this is how much we pay for expense for marketing. And we had that all finished out in first quarter of last year, and allocated to everyone that requested it, yes.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate here. Do we want to continue supporting these organizations, or do we want to use our promotional money for, say, promoting the city of Bandera, say during the eclipse and other times? I mean, this is not something that we have to do. It's our decision as a board. I'm just bringing it up for thought. I know it's gonna cause, major if we do it, but thought we
At
ought to
the- at-
discuss it.
At the last workshop with the city, Dan, the city's attorney, said that we're one of the only towns he's seen where we do stuff like that for all the different organizations that are out there. A lot of people think that's a great thing, but people from outside the city think that that's a great, wonderful thing that we're doing there. What most cities do, so that you guys are seeing both sides of the coin, what most cities do is they use that funding and they directly go to advertising outside of the area and do campaigns like Visit Bandera. So if you see like the Texas campaigns or, you know, the Europe campaigns, that's coming from organizations like this and their promotional funding.
The other thing that we, as a board, have brought up is, you know, promoting the water, conservation. And I think, William, you know this better than we do. So if we're saying something wrong, feel free to correct us. You know, we talked about, you know, maybe putting out information, you know, please conserve water, you know, stuff that I think would come under promotion.
Yeah,
So
like-
it's, you know, there's a lot of different things we could use, that.
Well, a lot of things we're talking about are line item changes and, you know, for lack of a better word, I would put, let's just take that cowboy shootout on Main Street.
We got fires.
That's an ongoing thing, guys.
42 to 45 weeks a year.
And then we need to transfer that to, the same thing we were just talking about, ongoing expenses for administrative.
Mhm.
It's not gonna
So-
stop at this board, it's just gonna keep.
So we don't, in the past, and to current, the BBA is the ones that do a contract with the gunfighters.
Mhm.
And then they come into us and they have asked us traditionally.
To sell it, yeah.
They have asked us traditionally for 10,000 a year, and then they go to the city and ask the city for 5,000 a year in hot tax for the gunfighters. What we've talked about over this past year is, because the BBA is getting ready to absorb into the Chamber of Commerce, is if we, as the EDC, were to go into contract with the gunfighters, and we've already talked to Patricia about this, moving their little gunfight town out from behind the Convention and Visitors Bureau and putting it in the city park, and then we're funding them directly at 15,000 a year. And we're directly in contract with them, so that we can,
Well, that can be a board decision, we can do it.
yes.
Another question, William?
Yes, sir.
You know William, and you asked him a water question. Well, what's your water background?
Well, I mean, I worked for local city government, so I, you know, and also do an economic development in Leon Valley. So one of the things I brought in was the PACE Authority program. So if you'll take a look at it, go to Texas PACE Authority, and what it is programs where the city, well, once the governing body would be the EDC or the council writes an ordinance and says, you know, we do approve Texas Authority, businesses and residents come to and look at it, and they got energy savings. Now it's water and energy savings. So they get anything from collecting rainwater to, they come in and do an audit of your business or house and says, you're losing electricity here. You know, we do low efficiency, you know, for the water faucets, for the toilets, stuff like that. And then say a business, like a hotel, if they came through and do that audit, they will actually do funding for that. So they can go get a loan and almost like a zero interest. And on our end, it's pretty easy, just administratively, we're just gonna do an ordinance that allows them to. It's a state program, so that basically picks up the interest. They get a no interest loan to be energy and water conservation.
Okay.
So little things like that. You know, just the 4B can get very, very specific on what you can and can't do with it. So it's kind of, the other side of that is, you know, that there's not somebody there's not regulation over watching everything that, you know, every program you have, that they have what it looks like that you're supposed to do with it. In Leon Valley, we dissolved it. So we dissolved the EDC and created an advisory board, and so it just went all general fund, so they were able to do basically any project they want. But at the end of the day, it's still tax dollars, right? We got to be fiscally responsible to every single pence, and I love, you know, your budget. You kind of got down to percentages of what you want to look at. what it sounds like here is that we need a strategic plan, is that, kind of go, this is what our goals are. Our number one goal is promoting tourism, because this is how we're collecting tax dollars, right? And then, kind of what those look like, and you just kind of line item under that, and you do, once you get your strategic plan, which is, the gunfighters and longhorns and whatever else might look like, and then, also looking at, we want this park to be the gold standard of parks around here. So you kind of got that line item, and what does that mean? Does that mean expansion of the skate park or playground? So I see the playground on here, what those look like. And anyway, so then that helps you with your budget. And this is kind of a big picture. It's not something that you fix at this meeting, but that strategic plan is something I can certainly help you guys with, and it helps you with your budget a little bit more. But no, you're doing great on just the accountability of what it is, because I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. It's like, every dollar has to have a job, right? So, and that's exactly what this is doing.
I was just curious, but that's a good answer.
And our strategic plan we've already got.
Oh, great.
Is
Well, not an economic development one.
is the adopted from the
comprehensive
city's
plan, the master plan,
comprehensive
yes.
and
Yeah.
master plan.
I've gone through looking at that, from everything from the lease on this building to, y'all got a new one, what is it called? I know it is zoning, but y'all have, PT,
Place type?
place type, there you go. So, it's kind of getting used to those. I've read through like 123 pages. I've read most of it, but I need to get through there now, really kind of study what it is, because I like it, because that was citizen and business comment. So that's what they want, and it's been kind of adopted. And it's your roadmap, and I've seen so many cities that will go through and spend a ton of money for these beautiful master comprehensive plans, and then they sit on a shelf and collect dust.
That was our last one.
So,
We've done here before.
yeah, so no, I've seen it happen way too many times before. But the comments in those they're very specific on some little bitty projects for, what, I guess if the county owns the jail. And so like, I'm trying to get caught up to what all projects are out there. It's a lot, I'm drinking from a fire hydrant right now. So, it's a lot trying to get caught up, but I like the collaboration, and whatever I can do to kind of bring some different ideas or just expand upon what y'all have. I'm here for you.
Awesome.
Glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments on the budget itself?
Do we wanna put some more specific items in here, so we don't have to go to city council?
So we will, before this goes up to city council, it will be more specific, breaking down like how Keely's already started putting line items in here and what the mayor requested at the workshop we did with her. So we will get very specific on here. What I'd like to see when we come together for the next meeting, because we wanna get close to finalizing it for the next meeting so we can send it to the city so that they've got time to look at it, make requests for changes, anything like that, or accept it as is, and have it all done prior to October 1st. So what I'd like to see is basically take this that you guys have gotten here and come back to the next meeting with
However, I got,
where you would place any line items, if we wanna keep the gunfighters where they are under this, or moving them somewhere else like Parks and Rec. We've still gotta sit down, if we were going to do that, with the gunfighters, look at a contract, things like that. But,
but he really recommended that we not put it Parks and Rec.
yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah.
But wherever it can go, if it goes in promotional and marketing, keep in mind, that's cutting 50% of our 10% max cap, which really limits how much we have to spend on promotional and marketing after that.
So why not Parks and Rec?
The attorney recommended that we not do that because of, it usually, that's for facilities and equipment,
More so than, okay.
more so than,
If we went under
hired act, I
contract
guess.
with the gunfighters, I would look at putting it under miscellaneous projects.
I thought he said we couldn't do that.
We'll have to re-talk to Monty.
Okay.
Cause to me, that's same as going under a contract with the hotel, like the job training, that's 10 years long every year for 10 years. And if we've got a 5-year contract with the gunfighters, this project that's going on, or administrative expenses.
Well, the only reason I use the gunfighters is kind of a catch word here is they have to, you know, they have to come in every year to get their deal done, so to speak.
Mhm.
But, if it's ongoing,
I'd
they'll be
rather-
able to recruit better.
And I'd
you know,
rather
you're gonna
just have.
get-
a-
you're
And
gonna
they
get a
need, they
better-
need some young guys, cause those guys can't fall like,
Yeah, yeah, it's
you
not-
know.
it's
But-
not-
Well, they don't, they.
They're
they-
really
they-
not gonna be able to get up, right?
Before we get,
Yeah, yeah.
before we get off on all that, what I wanna see on this next meeting, the next time we come together is, where are you placing this and keeping this in a balanced budget?
Right.
Where, you know,
So how does the 10% carryover work? The 10% from prior year revenue?
so
We,
cause we base everything off of projected, right? So if last year was projected 300,000, we actually brought in 450,000, right? But in our budget, we only did 30 grand for promotional. We have that extra 15. If we didn't utilize that, then that rolls into the next year and adds to that 10% that we've already marketed.
per category.
No, the 10% cap is only on promotional and marketing.
Right, but the carryover is per category. You're talking about just the promotional, or is it in total? I see this, the transfer in, prior year fund balance and transfer in, and in this workshop with the city council, the mayor reminded the EDC can carry over 10% of prior year excess revenue. Now, I didn't get clarification at that point, but does that mean this revenue over our budget? Or is it in just the promotional market?
It's just in the promotional market.
Okay,
Everything else goes into money we didn't spend, and that's what's sitting in the bank.
okay,
That we actually would have to go in and create a line item.
take it out of reserve, yeah. Okay,
Any other questions on the budget? Any questions on what I'd like to see for the next, and this next meeting is our regular meeting. So we will do the budget instead of we'll put a workshop at the beginning of the meeting. If we don't, if there's not a whole lot of questions or anything else, then I wanna see on the agenda for next week, for the next meeting, to solidify the budget. That way we can go in, make the line items, and get it up to the city with enough time for them to have questions, or send it back down if need be. Still have it done before October. Any questions?
Do you have any more information on the CDs? That might be one thing.
Going up.
and, yeah, I mean, I went to,
That wouldn't be a budget thing.
Well, whether we leave it where it is, to me, would be.
But that would be for the next regular meeting
Okay,
as an
okay.
agenda item on
Okay.
whether or not we
The only
wanna
thing
put those into
it
CD.
could affect the interest income.
Yeah.
It can, but that's not some,
Yeah.
It's not gonna move the needle.
no. Well, and it could move the needle, but the budget workshop is what we're projected to get in for next year, and balancing that budget on what we have going out. Anything like that, that's that interest income, and a CD, we were talking about 6 to 12 months. So we're looking at the next fiscal year that it would be sitting in our pot, in our honey pot. So
That's not
anything
fixed.
like that would be if we wanted to buy trailer potties and say, okay, we wanna do this, we've decided, we do a budget amendment, make a line item, because the expense of that goes up to city council for approval, comes back down. So. yeah. Cool.
Are you wanting to adjourn this meeting?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, well, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
All in favor, none opposed. This meeting is adjourned at 6:29 PM.